Johnny Torch back here with you again for our big 10th episode of Torch News Roundup. So we have that new Star Trek Beyond trailer out, and to be honest, it's very underwhelming to me. I really liked the last trailer too. This one feels beyond generic. I like the look of the new aliens and some of the action looks pretty cool, but I don't really have a feeling for the story beyond what we know from the previous trailer, that some hostile force takes over the Enterprise, brings it down, and captures most of the crew. There really needs to be a story trailer at this point. Tell me something about Idris Elba's new villain. He looks cool, but what's he all about? I generally liked both films in this franchise. I know it seems fashionable to bash into darkness, but I enjoyed it. This whole reboot has been flawed to begin with, but I like the cast well enough to stick with them. One gets the sense, though, that if they don't knock this one out of the park, it's probably curtains for the crew, at least in this incarnation. So CW has announced that Supergirl will indeed retain its original time slot of 8 p.m. Monday nights, continuing to air opposite Fox's Gotham. I personally think that's the best time for it. And they've already announced a mega 4-part crossover for all 4 shows, Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. Meanwhile, over on the Marvel side, Agents of SHIELD just wrapped up its 3rd season, and apparently ABC will be moving the show down an hour to 10 o'clock, supposedly to allow the show to be quote-unquote darker and edgier. Frankly, I think this season was more than dark enough, and to be honest, each season has a torture scene, random makeout scenes between agents, and a graphic autopsy-style scene. I don't really know how much further they could go without getting into Netflix territory. I have a bad feeling now that this series has made it to the magic 88-episode mark, its time is running out. With Netflix taking off of them in a big way, they don't seem inclined to shelter the ABC shows anymore, as evidenced by their canceling Agent Carter, and Most Wanted not even making it out of the pilot stage. Chloe Bennett, who plays Sky/Daisy/Quake, made some headlines by verbalizing the frustrations fans of the TV series have with Marvel's seeming unwillingness to cross over their characters between the movie and TV universes. This is due supposedly in part from the feud that's been going on between Ike Perlmutter, who controls Marvel's TV division, and Kevin Feige, who controls the film division. It's sad because originally it seemed some kind of crossover was in the works. In the first season of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson asks Sif not to tell Thor he's alive, that he'd eventually tell Thor himself. Now, 3 seasons in, still none of the Avengers know Coulson is alive, and it's not even mentioned anymore. To make matters worse, fans hoping to see Daredevil and Netflix Defenders crew join forces with the Avengers will continue to wait, as the studio says there is no plans to include them in the Infinity Wars films. And finally, there's going to be a new Macgyver series out this fall on CBS. I've seen the recent trailer that just came out. As a big fan of the original, this one has me curious. It stars Lucas Til, who plays Havoc in the X-Men movies, and he looks pretty good as Macgyver. Now, they don't say whether or not this is supposed to be the actual Macgyver or son of the original Richard Dean Anderson Macgyver. I'm inclined to think the latter, since one of the lines he says is, like my dad used to say, everything I need is right in front of me. I think in the series final they introduced the quote-unquote son he never knew he had, so this could be a genuine attempt to make this a series sequel. This isn't the first time they've tried to bring back a Macgyver series. I remember back about 15 years ago, they had a prospective show called Young Macgyver, that would have had the original Macgyver's nephew taking over for him at the Phoenix Foundation. It never took off. I generally like the look of this one. It seems like a throwback to the old series style. It naturally has a lot of the modern trappings as well. These days, they always have to throw a few dozen secondary characters in. It reminds me of the Knight Rider reboot series they tried a few years ago. There was just too many darn characters. Knight Rider is supposed to be just about a guy and his talking car, and they loaded the show down with unnecessary characters. They eventually thinned the herd in the second half of the season, but it was too little too late. Too many characters tend to sink these old concepts. All the original Macgyver needed was his Swiss Army knife and a couple of rolls of duct tape. Here it looks like he's got a boss who's an Asian woman, a tough guy as his muscle, and a cute tech girl. You always need one of those. I hope they do as the Knight Rider reboot did and try to include the original star, Richard Dean Anderson. But to be honest, all these old series should stay with the original actor. You really can't recapture the feelings of these characters without the principal actors involved. I'll be keeping an eye on this one either way. And so, once again, this is Johnny Torch bidding you farewell, live long and prosper, and I'll be with you again real soon.